Hey, drummer boy. Sorry, you're catching me in a mid drink. Hello, user 1738. Hello, John Effie. Hello, genetically inclined. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you all happen to be on this fine planet of ours. Hey, Kit Kat, glad you've joined. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Noah. Glad you're here. Uh, Looks like you both left. That's okay. I'm not going to break my back doing this tonight. Um, but hey, Shannon, welcome. Goodbye. Hey, Aaron. Good morning. Good evening. Welcome. Hi, Sydney. Good evening. Good morning. Welcome. Why can't I keep people in here for more than 2 minutes? I don't know. Or maybe it's wrong. Maybe I do have people in here and I'm just, it's reading zero and that's all. Hey, Ramiro, glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. Somebody named Sniffy a Cooch. Wow, that's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just start talking, and maybe I will learn that 10 p.m. is not the time to start this. But that's okay. You know, that's how we live. That's how we learn. Hi, Leah. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was also an alcoholic for 22 years. I have been clean and sober for the last 10 and a half years. I also have been without a relapse in those 10 and a half years. I am now full-time pornography addiction coach. I'm a full-time betrayal trauma coach, and I also am a therapeutic disclosure specialist. That means I help couples with their communication and trust/truth issues. If I can answer any questions for you in the areas of porn addiction, addiction in general, betrayal trauma, trauma in general, I am absolutely more than happy to. I'm glad you're here. Since it's late on a Sunday night where I am, I just got off the road after 700 miles of driving. I am more than happy to answer any of your questions for as long as I can keep myself awake. I'm going to go ahead and while I wait, lonely and no girlfriend makes it hard. I understand that, Ben. I understand that a lot, but you've got to be able to be the master of your destiny. If you don't have a girlfriend, you can find one. If you are lonely, you can find friends. You can meet people online. You can go take classes. You can do a lot of different things. The only people who are lonely are people who will not do the work to not be lonely. Hi, Ramiro. 7 p.m. here, so you must be on the west coast of the U.S. I'm on the east coast. I'm actually in New York State tonight. Like I said, I drove about 650 miles today. And finally just had to stop at a hotel. I'm exhausted. I am freaking exhausted. C. Monahan, 30, asks, how did you quit? I quit because of a series of things that happened. I quit because I knew that I was sick. I knew that I had too much pornography in my life. I knew that I had too much alcohol in my life. I knew that it was ruining my personal life. I knew that it was ruining my professional life. I eventually ended up getting fired for my job. Even though I owned 1/3 of the company, I ended up getting fired because I was always drunk at work. And we were starting to implode as a company. Please keep tapping up those likes. Please keep tapping up those likes. I'd appreciate that very much, especially early on here. So to continue, I ended up getting fired despite owning 1/3 of the company, and that was the wake-up call for my family and a couple of close friends to have an intervention for me. It was a pretty sad intervention, although I guess in the long run it did the trick, because I recognized during that intervention that I could no longer be the real, piece of shit that I was. And things had to change or I was going to lose my family. So I made the decision that I was going to get into recovery. And it was the smartest decision I ever made. There was between losing my wife, which meant I would have lost my kids or my ability to live with my kids every day. It was no real choice between one or the other. It really, really wasn't. So that's why I started to get help. And like I said, after 24 years of pornography use, after 22 years of drinking, and that was also very tough to get through, I should say. To not drink anymore felt next to impossible. To not look at porn anymore felt like it was going to be next to impossible. But I will tell you, here I am today, 10 years after getting sober, and I am happier and healthier than I've ever been. I can't believe how much time I wasted on that stuff. I wish I had got clean when I was 20 or 25 or even 30. I waited till I was 37 to start, which is okay. If you are 37, if you are 47, you still have time. But I really wish I would have gotten clean earlier. Does corn cause ED? Asked Katim. I don't want to, butcher your name, but asking, does corn cause ED? It can. It absolutely can. I would tell you, in the clients who I see, among the men who are clients, because porn addiction is also a challenge for women out there, but probably 75% of my male clients, whether they are 18 or 28 or 38 or 48 or older, have experienced some form of erectile dysfunction because of pornography. It is one of the signs that, you are using it too much. It is one of the signs that perhaps you have an addiction. When your mind will not allow you to get an erection, you've done some damage up there. You've done some damage up here. Absolutely. So it's important to recognize you can get erectile dysfunction from pornography, but you can also get it from a lot of other things. Let's not forget that. If you have erectile dysfunction, yes, it may be from the pornography, but it may also be something else. It is a symptom of other health issues, be it mental or physical. The Defeater asks, how long are you free from corn? I am now 10 years and 9 months. I'm still saying 10 and a half years for the most part, but probably starting next year, I'll say almost 11 years. On March 20th, it will be officially 11 years that I have not utilized pornography. Want to thank all of you who are joining. If you are not following me, please go ahead and follow me. That'll give you access to more of my videos. That'll give you an indication when I go live. If you are looking for any one-on-one help with this issue, visit the front page of my profile, and up at the top there is a link that says Calendly, and you can learn all the information there. Katim says, how can I prevent this at age 26? How can I prevent this at age 26? Haven't experienced yet, but scared I will. Well, I would suggest you use less. I would suggest maybe you don't use at all. I don't know how much you're using. When I hear somebody uses once every 2 or 3 weeks, I tend to not think it's going to be that big a deal as far as sexual dysfunction. When I talk to people who use every day or almost every day, that is a bit more of a red flag. Here's the thing, is that short of not using, there's really no way I can say, here's how you use porn but not get ED. Everybody is different. Some get it very easily, some never get it. I would say pay attention to what you're doing, and I would say try to not do it as much as you have been. I wish I could be more specific, but like I said, everybody's different. Ramiro Gets It says, relapsed after 2 months without it, but I'm back on the wagon. Relapse wasn't worth it. And I hope you've been doing the work that we often talk about here, Ramiro, is figuring out why you relapsed. You know, if you can go 2 months without it, you should be able to go any day without it. What was it about that day that was different? Did you know you were going to be using that week? Did you not know until that morning? Did you not know until right before? What happened? Where were the red flags? You just don't end up relapsing. You just don't end up on an adult site, pants around your ankles, going to town. That's not how it works. You have to make a series of decisions to get there. Now, as you get more and more inebriated by the chemicals in your head, it's harder to stop, but you should be able to see some red flags early on that you can, notice and start to change what's going on. So I hope you do go back and look at what happened, and I'm glad you recognize relapse wasn't worth it. Want to continue to thank you for joining. Please continue to tap up those likes. If I say something you find fascinating, you find interesting, please share this. I think we're going to get a smaller audience than a lot of these what we do because it's late on Sunday, much later than I usually do this. So this is a great opportunity to have more conversations, and I will get to everybody's comment, I promise. Chris Cass, 3750 says, 100% took months, even a few years to feel the same after realizing the addiction was a thing. Yeah, it does take a while. I was 24. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I tell people it probably took 2 full years for me to not get the urges, not get the triggers, for me to do the deeper trauma work that's necessary. But 2 years to undo a 24-year addiction, that's 1/12 the time. It's going to take some time, but you can get back to a place, or you can get to a place where you feel better. I was 12 when I became an addict. People say, do you go back to the way you were? I don't want to go back to being 11. You evolve to the next thing. Ruby Woo 25 says, I'm close to divorcing my husband because of his corn. I'm so sorry about that, Ruby. I hope that you've shared this with him. I hope that he understands that it's bothering you. I hope you've been able to have some discussions. And I hope he knows that how close you are to leaving him. And if he chooses pornography over the love of, his wife, over the support of his wife, if seeing naked pictures of naked people doing naked things is more important than his marriage, then that's not a guy you probably want to be married to, Ruby. I'm sorry you find yourself in this position. Nobody wants to be there. I know I'm falling behind. I'm going to catch up, I promise. Just looking for the next comment. 3 times a day. Yeah, that's too much, dude. You can almost expect you're going to have some problems there, Katim or Katim. Yeah, that's way too much. Think about that, dude. That's 20 times a week, 52 weeks in a year. You're talking about using pornography and or masturbating over 1,000 times a year. You don't think that's a problem? That is. I mean, you don't have that many meals in a year. Anyway. Jesus, thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate that. Always appreciate that. Hey, Alice, glad you're back. Addict since I was 13, stopped fully at 23. Good for you. Good for you. That's a tough thing to do. I'm glad that you were able to do it. It's been a battle every day, but it saved my relationship. Hey, that's awesome. Not Unknown says, hey, I'm back on TikTok after leaving for a week and a half. Well, on behalf of everybody here, I'm glad you're back. Not Unknown, I hope you enjoyed your break. Hope you're feeling good. Again, thank you guys for tapping up the likes. Thank you guys for sharing this. Thank you for following me. Ruby asks, what made you decide to stop? Well, it's funny because you talk about your husband not stopping. I stopped specifically because of my wife and kids. I treated them like crap for years. My life was in service of my addictions, both porn and alcohol. And ultimately, after I got fired for the alcohol, from a company that I actually owned a third of, I realized during a really bad makeshift intervention that my family and a couple friends threw together that things were going to change. Things were going to change. These people were completely on to me. They always were, but I was no longer going to be able to manipulate them, to use them, to lie to them, to cheat, to do whatever it was I needed to do to get my addiction or to get my addictive urges met. And it was basically, I had this moment of clarity where it came down to, one of two things, Ruby. I could either basically leave the life behind me that I had, and I could go off, start a new life, and continue on as an addict, which I was not happy, I was not healthy, or I could decide to get help and keep my family together and see what I could rebuild and see if I could fix the relationships with all these people who stood by me for so long. And so it really wasn't much of a choice at that point, Ruby. Really wasn't much of a choice. I went with the family. And I hope your husband does too. I really hope your husband does. Making sure I'm not missing any comments. I'm going to... Bless me. Thank you for all the likes, Alice. I appreciate it. Does your intrusive thoughts get worse if you watch porn? I think you mean yours in general, and I will say everybody is different. I don't watch porn anymore, and I don't actually have very many intrusive thoughts anymore. But that's because I've spent years working on myself. I've spent years turning myself into the person that I've always wanted to be. I wish I could have done this at, 23 instead of doing it in my mid-40s. But that's okay. Better late than never. And that's a big reason why I'm out here doing this, is to talk to younger people, to talk to partners who are dealing with this kind of stuff. And to say, you're not alone. There are other people out there like this, and we need some education out there, and we need some support. That's really what I'm hoping for. We keep getting out there. Thank you all for the likes. Thank you very much. Michael asks, how have the results been with your clients? Great question, Michael. I'll tell you that I find that any client who stays with me for more than 3 sessions, usually once they finish treatment with me, whether it's 5 or 6 sessions, or whether they're still seeing me 2 years after starting, even if we don't talk porn anymore, which is more of a check-in, those people who are serious about recover with me. Those people who want to figure out, and a lot of times I see people one time. A lot of times I see men one time. And if I see you one time, odds are, number one, you've got a spouse or a girlfriend that has forced you to come see me. And it's not that you really want to talk to me, it's that you're being forced to, or you feel like if you show your partner that you're trying to get some help, that they'll get off your case and you can make things go back to normal. That's one of the types of people who come see me with no intention of ever getting better. There are also people who show up and are looking for the, 3 steps to get better fast. And when people realize there are no 3 steps to getting better fast, there is no silver bullet. I'm not going to give you that secret piece of information that everybody's been holding back from you. It doesn't exist. It's hard work to get better. And probably the final group of people, and this can be men and women who I only see one time, is that they don't realize, or they realize that this isn't just about stopping a behavior. This is about a full mindset shift. This is about going deep. This is about finding out why you were an addict. This is about figuring out why you are the person you are today. Nobody just becomes an addict. You become an addict for reasons. Those reasons are almost always childhood trauma. Now, childhood trauma can be 5,000 different things. It doesn't have to be someone beating the crap out of you. It doesn't have to be somebody molesting you. You can have trauma because people were bullies. You can have trauma because you moved when you were young. You can have trauma because somebody lied to you. You can have trauma because your parents got a divorce. You can have trauma because you felt like you were smothered or you felt like you were neglected. Trauma is so very different in so many people that it's impossible to nail it down. But if you're going to recover, you have to be willing to look at yourself. You have to be willing to look at your entire life in a mirror and be honest with yourself about things that may not be comfortable. In fact, they won't be comfortable. They'll be frustrating. They'll be angering. They'll be saddening. But that's what you have to do to get to the other side. And a lot of people just aren't up for it. Those of my clients who are, absolutely heal, Michael. Absolutely heal. Thank you for asking that question. Jerry says, I've been like 2 months clean and I'm already feeling way better. Congrats, Jerry. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. 2 months clean is not easy. 2 months clean is not easy. And I hope you're doing the work to figure out why you became an addict, Jerry. I really hope you are. Again, Alice, thank you for all of those likes. You're really coming through for me today. Your finger must be, broken how many likes you've been giving me. But I want to thank all of you for tapping up those likes. I want to thank all of you for sharing this. I want to thank those of you who weren't following me but have started. And of course, if you need any help, all you need to do is go to my front page of my profile, click on up in the bio where it says Calendly, or visit me at thatcorncoach.com. More. Hey, good to see you, my friend. Says, yeah, I need some help. I'm getting better, but I don't feel 100% confident on doing this on my own. Well, I would suggest maybe joining me for a session, or maybe going to a 12-step group. Maybe read more about this. If you think you need help, you probably do need help. Listen to that voice inside of you that says you need help. You're getting better, but you don't feel 100% confident. That is some awesome self-recognition. That is some awesome self-awareness. I hope that you will book something with me. I'd love to talk to you. You've been here for a while, and I'd love to meet you face to face. Where are we here? Okay, and hey, Joseph, my friend. So far, me placing consequences at myself for using is slowly working. Good. I'm interested in finding out what those consequences are. That's fantastic. Sometimes it's a matter of we need to potentially lose something. Lose something if we're found out. all of our inspiration, all of our motivation is going to be different. What works for you? Like you've heard me say before, my wife and my kids were my motivation because I didn't want my family to blow up. If you don't have a family, a wife or kids, or you don't stand to lose that, you have to find something else. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your worry that you won't end up with somebody else if you continue on with this. But in some cases, you need consequences. What would happen if your partner or your boss or somebody else were to get an email every time you used? Would that stop you? Maybe that's what you need. Consequences can sometimes be motivators. 100%, 150%. Rich, thank you for following me. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very, very much. Jerry says, I had to think, and the act is sad and gross, and the pleasure is temporary. You're right. And when you think about it also, Jerry, it's naked people. And there's 9 billion of us out here. We're all naked under these clothes. What is the big deal? What is the big deal when you really think about it? Now, obviously, it's your brain, demanding chemicals. It's addiction is real. It's not easy to quit. But when you think about it, at its core, you are just looking at people who are not wearing their clothes. Big friggin' deal. Rich, poor, white, black, Asian, Latino, tall, smart, poor, stupid, man, woman, something in between. We're all naked under these clothes. Big freaking deal. Guess what? The ladies have breasts and vaginas. Guess what? The guys have penises. Guess what? We all have asses. We've all got them. What are you expecting to see the next time? What are you expecting to see the next time? Hey, Moore, am I available tomorrow? Yeah, I'm going to be on the road the first half of the day, and I know that I have a couple of nighttime appointments, but I probably have a couple openings. Honestly, I don't look at my day until the day of. So I do know most of my day is blacked out for traveling because I still have another 400 miles to drive tomorrow, but I am having evening appointments as far as East Coast. So I would just check that link on the front part of my bio or the front page of my profile, that bio that says Calendly. Click on that, and I'm sure you'll find a session tomorrow night that you can fit in. Thank you all for liking this live. I appreciate it very much. Do you have any tip on how I can start to stop this addiction? Yes. What you have to do is figure out why you must stop. Before you learn any tools, before you learn any techniques, before you try to stop this, you have to figure out why. Why? Why must you quit? What do you stand to lose if you don't quit? This isn't like going on a diet where it's like, I'd like to lose a few pounds. Well, I'd like to drop this porn thing. Pornography, for most of us who are in here, is an addiction. For a bunch of us, it's also the partners of porn addicts who hang out in here, who are dealing with betrayal trauma. But what I would urge you to do is figure out why you must quit. That motivation is going to be what drives you forward. Do you have to quit because you're worried about your health, mental or physical? Do you have to quit because you have a partner who you might lose? Do you have to quit because you're worried you won't get a partner if you don't quit? Or do you have to quit because you use at work and you're already afraid they know that you're doing this, so you must? Whatever the reason is, what is it that pornography is going to take from you? What is it you will never get back? That was ultimately me when I recognized my wife was probably weeks away from leaving me, if not even less. and I had to change something. So I haven't relapsed. How have I not relapsed in 10 and a half years? Well, I tell myself my wife, my kids, my relationships with them are far more important than any naked person on any screen that I could possibly see. I don't care who that person is and what they're doing. That motivation is enough for me. You have to figure out what the motivation is for you, Ephra. Why must you quit? Joseph says, every time I deprive myself of a moderately unhealthy hobby, I deprive myself of a moderately unhealthy hobby for 3 days. Curious what that moderately unhealthy hobby is. Camden, good to see you. What do you do if you feel the urge? If I don't feel the urge, and I don't know if you're saying you in general or you as in people, but I don't feel the urge anymore because I don't get triggered and I don't get urges because of pornography anymore or because of the things that used to trigger me. I am recovered. If you get the urge, if you get triggered, the number one thing I suggest you do is not be alone. Don't be alone. And if you can't do that, if you have to be alone, don't be around your device that you can look at porn with. Because if you can't look at porn, then you can't look at porn. So yeah, my number one would be go be around people. If you feel the urge, I don't anymore because, like I said, I recovered. Camden, Jerry says, I wear a necklace and it reminds me to keep calm. I like that. I like that a lot. Dylan Elwood, thank you for sharing the live. Hi, LA boy. Your question keeps being skipped. I don't actually see it. This is the first time I've seen you write anything. So what you're probably doing is you're probably putting a word in there that TikTok won't allow, or a word that I have learned over the years will get this banned one way or another. So I've had to block some words too. So what I would suggest, H-Lal boy, is that you try to rephrase your question. Try to rephrase your question and I will answer it. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. There's no reason for that. Thank you very much for your help. You're welcome, Camden. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you periodically show up. That's important to be consistent. And I'm sure you can eventually conquer this if you really put your mind to it. Gage Berkowitz, thank you for following me. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate everybody who's following me. Appreciate everybody who's tapping up those likes, everybody who's sharing this. And I appreciate anybody who wants to give any gifts. I don't make a ton of money doing this. And every little gift counts. Every little gift helps. It also helps the algorithm. Alrighty, I scheduled it. Hey, more. Thank you for the corn. Already scheduled it. Hope we meet up tomorrow, Mango. Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it. Michael asks, what's your TED Talk called? It was called The Twisted Tentacles of Porn Addiction, but it is not publicly available anymore. Because after, I think it's 2 years, maybe it's 3, you can ask the TED Talk people to take it down. And I did, because it was one of the absolute worst speeches I ever gave in my life. My TED Talk was horrible. You hear about people who make their career or make their life, or they do a great TED Talk and it changes everything. Yep, mine did not. Mine sucked. Mine was horrible. It was embarrassing how bad it was. So when I could finally ask them to take it down, I did, because I sucked. I sucked at it. Again, thank you very much for the corn, more. Christian Dean says corn. Yep, that's the code word for porn. There's so much we can't say. There's so much that we can't write here on TikTok. And we use the word corn. Joseph says, no video games or scrolling for more than 2 hours. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I hope you're enforcing it. Because keep in mind, Joseph, you're the only one who can do this. So if you are giving yourself some kind of deterrent, you have to actually go ahead and do that. You have to actually go ahead and enforce it. You know, this is another way of exercising discipline. More, thank you for the heart. Appreciate that very much. So yeah, good luck to you, Joseph. I'm curious to hear how this works over time. Camden asks, where did you do your TED Talk? I did my TED Talk in October or November. It might have even been early December. It was I want to say November or December of 2020, and I did it in Hartford, Connecticut. And it kind of sucked in that it was still under COVID. So instead of having a real audience there, the only audience there were the other TED Talk speakers and any guests that we brought and the crew that did all the setup. So there was only about 20 people there. It wasn't a full, a very large audience. The other thing that was weird was that we did it in a TV studio, which I'm not very familiar speaking in. I've spoken I'm very good speaking in front of groups of people. I'm very good speaking in front of groups of people. It's when I have, and I guess I'm now better speaking where there are no people. For instance, like I said, I'm sitting in a hotel room now in Utica, New York, talking to a screen, and I can do this now. Back then I wasn't very good, but I'm also not using note cards. And the worst part about that TED Talk was that they forced me to use a monitor for notes. They said they wanted everybody to have notes on a monitor. Most people had not given a lot of speeches in their lives. I had, I've given commencement speeches at graduations. I've spoken in front of thousands of people at a time before. I'm okay with it. I know the trick to speaking in front of people, but and without note cards. But they wanted me to have notes, and there was no people there. So it just threw off my timing, because I was always looking at the monitor to see the notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. And it just did not, it was just bad. I do actually have it on video. I might release a minute or two here or there at some point soon on here, just so people can see it. The best thing that came out of that day was getting my picture in front of the TED Talk sign. So, it gives me some credibility when I go on podcasts or people want a photo, and makes me look like an expert. But boy, that was a shitty speech. Oh, it was so bad. I tried to do too much. In the 12 minutes I had, I tried to do too much. I tried to share too much. I tried to inform too much. I should have really focused on one little area of things. Anyway, it is getting to be 10:36 p.m. here on the East Coast. I'm getting a little bit of tiredness going, but I would be happy to answer more questions if people have them. I have to hit the road again early tomorrow, and now that Moore has signed up for a session tomorrow, I know I have at least 3 tomorrow night. So there probably won't be one of these tomorrow, because I'll be on the road and then I'll be at home doing sessions. So if you do have any questions you've been wanting to ask, if you do have any comments before I call it an evening, now's a great time. Like I said, late Sunday, I didn't think we'd get too many people in here, but this has not been a bad exchange. Yeah, thank you, Camden. I appreciate it. Christian, I have not seen. All I saw is you wrote the word corn and 2, what is that, greater than, less than symbols. But you must have put some word into your question that it didn't let it go through. So no, Christian, I haven't seen your question yet. I only saw the one time you wrote the word corn. But yeah, Camden, at some points in our life, we just we don't hit it out of the park. We strike out. And I think about all the times in my life I have hit a home run, and it's far more than I've ever deserved, far more than most people ever get. So, you know what? To do a face plant and to suck at my TED Talk, I just see that as karma. I've had so many good public presentations that, hey, you know what? Had a bad one. Oh, well. If I really wanted it, I would go to try to do another TED Talk. But I have not invested the time at this point. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. I'm going to sneeze here again. Maybe not. Let's all sit together and wait to see if I sneeze. No. Okay, at what point would you consider corn an addiction? Great question, Christian, and it's a little different for everybody. Addiction is just a label. Addiction is just a label that we put on a health condition that meets a certain amount of symptoms, like really any diagnostic piece. So what you have to find out is how many of the symptoms of porn addiction do you have, and does that reach the level of what the professionals consider addiction? Because if it does, then you can, do whatever you need to do to deal with that addiction. What I would suggest in your case, and there is no magic number. I can't tell you if you use 3 times a week, you're an addict. If you use 5 times a week, you're not. Everybody is different, and we are still in the very early days of figuring this out. And learning enough about it. People are, we've only been studying this 15, 20 years to any serious levels. So what I would urge you to do, Christian, is to visit the front page of my profile. There are a couple pinned videos at the top. One of them is called The 11 Symptoms of Porn, or Corn, I should say, Addiction. Watch that video, The 11 Symptoms of Corn Addiction. Keep track of your score, and then at the end, I let you know what, if you are an addict or not. But what I would drive home, most importantly, is even before you watch that, even before you decide that you are an addict or not, because ultimately it's up to you, the question is, are you going to do anything about it if it turns out you are an addict? That's something you can't unlearn. If you are an addict, there's a problem. I hope that you decide, even before you decide that you are going to take that little quiz, survey, whatever you want to call it, on if you're a porn addict based on the symptoms, that you decide what you're going to do about it. Or you decide that you are going to do something about it. Let me briefly reintroduce myself to the folks who have not met me here before. I want to thank you all for being here late Sunday night on the East Coast of the U.S. I stopped because it was starting to snow. I have no idea if it is. It is still little flurries, nothing too much. Supposed to get 2 to 4 inches of snow here overnight, so that's why I pulled off and figured I'd let that happen. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober and relapse-free for the last 10 and a half years. I now make my life as a full-time pornography addiction coach, as a full-time betrayal trauma coach that's helping the partners of porn addicts, and a therapeutic disclosure specialist. That's somebody who works with couples on trust and communication skills. So I help the addict, I help the partner, and I help the couple together. Hey, thank you for following me, Truman. Same question. What do we consider an addiction? Like I said, please go view that video on my front page that says the 11 symptoms of corn addiction. That is where you can, nobody's knowing what you're thinking. Nobody knows it's you watching. You can be honest with yourself and you can figure out whether you have an issue or not. And if you have an issue, just above those videos that are pinned, you'll see a link that says Calendly, and that can teach you how to book a session with me if you are so inclined. Hey, Jet Life baby, glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it very much. I'm into SPH. I have no idea what SPH is in this context. Probably something sexual or pornographic, I'm guessing. But I have not heard those initials, SPH. So if you want me to comment deep state, you're going to have to actually tell me what SPH means, or somebody else can jump in. Christian says, I watched the video. Well, thanks for coming back. I have a lot of the symptoms, unfortunately. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because addiction doesn't get better until you decide it's going to get better. And addiction isn't just about going like this to the behavior. It's also figuring out why you became an addict in the first place. That's the most important question. Because think about it this way. I had, the people here, we figured out this sort of biohack when we were younger. I don't have to deal with stress or anxiety or any problems. I don't have to do any of that. I can just watch porn because porn makes me feel better. Porn makes a bad day okay and an okay day pretty good. It takes me away. It's my escape. It gives me energy with the chemicals in the head. It doesn't make me feel alone. It makes me feel like I have some power. It makes me feel like I have some control of something. But the reality is, when you become an addict, you stop developing mentally. You stop developing your mind the way that you should. When I got clean 10, 11 years ago, I was told you're going to have to develop some problem-solving skills. You're going to have to develop some anxiety and stress management skills because you have the skills of an 11-year-old boy. Because once you find your addiction, you stop developing. That's your answer now. And really, what you have to be able to do is you have to learn to deal with life's problems on life's terms. Why are there so many people who aren't addicts? It's because they know how to deal with the challenges in their life. Most of us who are addicts don't. Most of us, and the thing is, most of us when we were young had challenges that we couldn't deal with, that were just too much for us. That's how the trauma was created. And that's not about blaming anybody. That's not about pointing fingers. But you have to learn what your trauma was. Because in almost every case, addiction grows out of trauma. It becomes your problem-solving technique. So what you have to do is go back and figure out that trauma and resolve it. That's most of the work I do. Is go back and figure out that trauma and resolve it. That's most of the work I do. Is go back and figure out that trauma and resolve it. That's most of the work I do. Yes, I teach people how not to. What happened here? Okay, that was weird. Did I just freeze up for everybody? Like I just stopped moving for myself. I didn't know if that happened to everybody. But yeah, as I was saying, ultimately you have to be able to deal with life on life's terms. You can't run away and use a substance. You can't run away and engage in some kind of behavior. Yeah, I'm sorry that it froze. It's hotel Wi-Fi is just so good. Hotel Wi-Fi is just so good. Hopefully that doesn't happen again in the few minutes here that I'll still be doing this. So yeah, ultimately, it's more than just learning how not to look, how not to touch, because ultimately your addiction is a symptom of a bigger problem. You became an addict not because you always wanted to be an addict. You became an addict because it was your way to deal with something else. That something else is trauma. And trauma is just a fancy way of saying unresolved pain. Trauma is just a fancy way of saying certain emotions, certain incidents you haven't dealt with. And those incidences and that pain has probably shaped who you are for life. And that's an important thing to understand. How did you become the person that you are today? How did you become the person you are today? Are you quiet? Are you shy? Are you outgoing? Are you loud? When people talk about emotions, do you try to change the subject? When people talk about emotions, do you jump right in there and start sharing? How did you become the person you are today? What shaped you as far as trauma? What caused this addiction? These are important questions to solve. Deep State asks, why are you in a hotel? Wife kick you out or what? No. I had to return my son. He's in college. It's the end of Thanksgiving break, and I drove him back to school today. But he goes to school 8 hours away from home, so I drove him 8 hours, dropped him off, and then I drove 2 hours in this direction, and then I hit snow, and I said, okay, screw this, I'm stopping for the night. So that's why I'm in a hotel room tonight. And happy greetings from the Holiday Inn Express in Utica, New York. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. You'll all track me down and get me. Or somebody could just meet me for breakfast tomorrow and buy me breakfast. Wouldn't that be nice? If anybody's in Utica, New York, I'll let you buy me breakfast for some free coaching tomorrow. No, my wife didn't kick me out Deep State. I don't think I'd go to a hotel if my wife kicked me out. I'd probably go to a friend's house, or I'd probably go to my daughter's house, truthfully. Cedric Lattimore, hey man, good to see you. I saw you left me a message. You've just heard me, I've been on the road. Shouldn't the breakfast be free there? Yeah, it is free, but the problem is these hotel breakfasts, especially Holiday Inn Express, it's just kind of low budget. They give you, there are two hot plates. Like one is just these bad, like fake eggs folded over with cheese inside. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be a mini omelet, but it's pathetic. And then there's like a tray of bacon that's not even good bacon. It's like fatty grossness. And then bagels, it's not good enough. Hopefully there's a Dunkin' Donuts around here where I can get some real breakfast. But yeah, good point, Deep State. Good point. Favorite Ethiopian what? Well, first I have to ask what's a what, and then I'll be able to answer you on that. Just wondering, are you dodging my question because you can't answer it due to guidelines? No, Truman, what's probably happening is I'm not even seeing your question because of those guidelines. TikTok has an impressive list of words that cannot be printed in here. Woman of all time. Okay. Favorite Ethiopian woman of all time. I can't even name one Ethiopian woman. I had an Ethiopian man as a client last year, and I met his sister briefly. She was on camera talking to me for a few minutes. So I would maybe she is. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with Ethiopian people. Wish I had more. It's not like, it's funny. For some reason, am very popular in Nigeria. I'm very popular in here, in Nigeria for some reason. Like 3% of my followers are from Nigeria. I have more clients in Nigeria than I do in Canada. I don't know. But Truman, yeah, I'm not able to see your question because you're either using one of those words that TikTok has blocked, or you're using a word that I have blocked. I have blocked a bunch of different words for a bunch of different reasons. Things I don't want to talk about in here, like politics, or you might have just used a word that I banned for some other reason. So I would say, I'm not dodging your question at all. And if it can't get answered in here, drop me a note and I will absolutely answer it for you. Ethiopian food, unfortunately, I don't know that I've ever had any. I did not see the question, Truman. I did not see the question. You must be putting some word in there that is not being allowed. Anyone else use Chat GPT in here for therapy? Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You cannot rely on computer programmers who have made a basic AI engine to be your therapist. That's dangerous, dude. Don't do that. I said it again. Just the question. No, I worded it differently. I'm sorry, Truman. Again, if you want to write me the question personally, anything that may be considered inappropriate, I used emojis to say, though. If I knew what you said, I could probably tell you exactly what the problem was. I just don't know. You could always try, spelling it differently. Misspell the word if you think it's an issue. Because I'm curious too. I'm curious very much too. User 56626 here. How? How what? How? So many questions can start with how. But you say, I'm dreaming about it when I'm not watching. Well, there is a red flag, my friend. One of the very top symptoms of pornography addiction is when you are thinking about it all day, when you are planning your day around it, when it is top of mind, even when you're not using it. Like you say, you're daydreaming about it. That's a big sign. That's clear. You've done some damage to your brain. Pornography is a disease. Pornography addiction is a disease. That's because addiction is a disease. It changes the chemistry of your brain. Is Skibidi banned? I don't know what Skibidi is. Anything that may be considered inappropriate, I used emojis to say, though. Yeah, again, I don't know. How do I stop? Gouge your eyes out and cut off your hands? I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make a joke. How do you stop? Number one, you have to want to stop. You truly have to want to stop. And I got to tell you, working with the clients I have had over the last 5 years, and I've probably now seen somewhere around 600 people. I've probably seen around 600 people, and the ones who fail the fastest don't want to stop. They'd like to stop. They know it's a good idea to stop, but they will not stop because they don't want to. You have to truly want to stop. You have to believe you must stop. You have to know you must stop. That's the only way you're going to have the discipline, the willpower. You must have a reason for stopping. There's your number one thing. How do you stop? You have to come up with that reason why you must stop. Tony Kirby says you're going to lose your subscription benefits soon. Well, I hope you resubscribe. Hey, is that's a TARDIS, isn't it, in your picture? Do gray behaviors ever stop? What is a gray behavior? What does gray mean? If you can tell me that, Tony, I can tell you the answer. I'm at the stage where I hardly think about it anymore. I'm at the stage where I hardly think about it anymore except when I get triggered. I suppose that's good, as long as you're not getting triggered 12 times a day. I didn't do it almost all November. That's good. I hope that wasn't just a No Nut November thing, because today is December 1st. And I bet, and there's no way to measure this, but I bet if we looked at statistics around people not looking at porn, not masturbating, I bet you see a big jump in use today. Because there were a lot of people who got through November and are like, hey, it's December 1st. Let me celebrate by using. I just wanted to see if I could go 30 days. Well, that proves nothing. That proves nothing. But I'm very glad you almost did all of November. That's a big step forward, Domit. Congratulations. Drewly, hey, brother, how you doing? I'm doing okay. I'm getting tired here. It's very late at night, and it's almost 11, but I'm tired. I've been on the road since 8 a.m. So I'm heading the last few minutes of this. Is slapping the turkey with watching the special videos? That's funny. I like that. Just as bad as doing it with no videos. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason for this, Truman, is because the eyes may see imagery, but the eyes don't process imagery. Just like your mouth, your tongue tastes the food, but your brain processes the taste. You smell with your nose. Your brain processes the smell. You hear with your ears. Your brain processes the sounds. So think about it this way. When you are not viewing traditional pornography, but still masturbating, what are you thinking about when you're masturbating? I'm going to guess it's sexual imagery. So if you close your eyes or you just, think to yourself as you're using, well, am I, I'm not going to think of sexual imagery. Well, then how are you going to be able to perform? It's very simple. It's like, if you close your eyes, and some of you have heard this before. If you close your eyes right now and I tell you, do not picture a giraffe. Everybody try this. Close your eyes and do not picture a giraffe. Are you not picturing a giraffe right now? Okay, with your eyes closed, do not picture a giraffe. Now, do not picture a giraffe wearing a little blue hat. I do not want you to picture a giraffe wearing a funny blue hat. Okay, open your eyes. Most people, 90%, just pictured a giraffe wearing a blue hat. Your brain believes it just saw a giraffe in a blue hat. Because processing the image, you don't need your eyes for that. You need your eyes to see an image, but you don't need your eyes to process an image. It's the processing That's the problem. So you could never look at porn again, but you have a Hall of Fame library up here. If you're an addict, you can just draw on that forever. But that's basically the same thing. You're not going to get rid of any addiction. You are not going to get rid of any addiction if you're touching but not looking. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you take the jelly away, you still have a peanut butter sandwich. If you take the peanut butter away, you still have a jelly sandwich. You're still being fed. You still have most of the ingredients. It's still doing what it needs to do. Just because it's not all together doesn't mean that, it's not still going to do things. Great behaviors like rubbernecking. Oh, okay, looking at non-sexual photos to try and feel attraction. That's, Tony, I wish I could. Yes, it takes this long. Everybody is different. Everybody is different. And there has to be a plan to get through these behaviors, just like there has to be a plan to get through any other behaviors. I wish I could be more specific for you, but not knowing the situation you're in, it's hard for me to say exactly what's going on, but they should dissipate over time. They should dissipate over time. Domit says, thanks, you're welcome, and more, thank you for sending the corn again. Truman says, that was the question it would not let me ask. That's interesting. I wonder what word you were using. That isn't, maybe choking. If you were saying choking the chicken, maybe TikTok doesn't allow the word choking. I'm not sure. Hell, I've learned I can't even say the names of some drugs in here because just saying it out loud gives me a conditional ban for that live I'm in. So there's so much censorship on here. I hate the fact I have to put some in myself, but I have to censor myself just talking because there are so many filters that are being used, and most of them are automated. Most of them are automated. So I can always appeal after the fact, and I almost always win my appeals, but it's after the fact, so what's it really matter? What if you're thinking about it, but you don't act upon it, like imagining, but doing nothing? Well, Michael, if you are just laying there in bed thinking about pornography but not touching yourself, I guess that's better than looking and actually touching. I don't know how long you would just stay there in a state of, fantasy bliss without wanting to see anything for real or without actually touching. But I guess if you're laying there all day thinking about nothing except that, it could be bad for you. I just don't know if it would bring you all the way to that place. Because I've never heard anybody doing that. So I don't know. I truly don't know what would happen. I've just never heard of anybody being in that situation. I used the meat emoji and fist, the ask the corn emoji for the words. That's interesting. It didn't work. I don't know why. Alrighty, kids. I would love to stay here and talk to you all night, but I've been here over an hour now, and I need to go to bed. If anybody needs any real one-on-one coaching from me, please consider signing up for a session. You can learn more about that visiting the front page of the profile and going to the top of the bio and clicking on the Drooly. I didn't see your question. It must not have come through. The only thing you've said, Drooly, is "Hey brother, how you doing?" Maybe I wonder if they have some extra hard filters on me tonight, because like I said, I got a ban during my live last night because of something I said. So maybe they are maybe they are really tight on me tonight. But Julie, if you want to send me a message, I'll answer your question, just privately to you. I don't want anybody to leave here feeling like I didn't get to them, because I don't want anybody to think that. It's just, this is like we are handcuffed with our language on here, which fucking sucks. All right. Good seeing you guys. I appreciate you being here. Probably won't do one of these tomorrow because of my traveling and my nighttime commitments to sessions, but I'll probably do a live come Tuesday. Probably sometime in the afternoon. If you're following me, it will let you know that I'm online. Thank you all very much. You all sleep well and have a good first part of your week.